Who are you when no one's watching? Not the version you show at work or the face you put on for family. I'm talking about the real you, the one beneath the performance, the one you've maybe forgotten even exists. Most of us spend our entire lives playing a character we created to survive, a mask we built so early in childhood that we forget we're wearing it. And then one day you wake up exhausted, successful maybe, but empty. You've achieved everything you thought you wanted, but something's missing. You look in the mirror and think, who is this person? Is this really me? Or have you been pretending so long that you don't know who you are anymore? 70 years ago, a Trappist monk named Thomas Merton sat in his monastery wrestling with this exact question. Merton was one of the most influential spiritual writers of the 20th century. But before he was a monk, he was just like us. He spent years chasing success, seeking approval, building an identity based on achievement and reputation. He became a successful writer, got the recognition, had the career, but inside, he felt like a fraud. He wrote, "I had a false self to defend, and I spent my whole life defending it." So he walked away from it all. And in the silence of a monastery, he discovered something that would change millions of lives. He discovered the difference between the false self, the mask we wear, and the true self, who we really are beneath everything. Let's start with how this mask gets built. You weren't born wearing it when you came into this world. You were just you. But then life started teaching you lessons. When you cried, someone told you to be quiet. When you were too loud, you were told to sit still. When you failed, you felt shame. When you succeeded, you got love and approval. So you learned which version of yourself got approval and which version got rejected. And slowly, unconsciously, you started building a character, a false self designed to keep you safe. Merton called this the false self, the one who exists only in selfish desires, ego aspirations, and fabricated images. Your false self is the one addicted to validation, constantly asking, what will they think? Am I good enough? It's the voice that scrolls through social media at midnight, checking how many people liked your post, measuring your worth by reactions. It's the part of you that compares yourself to everyone else, never feeling like enough, because it's built on a foundation of fear. The false self runs on achievements, status, roles, and reputation. It says, I am my job, I am my success. It says, I am my body, I am my accomplishments, I am what people think of me. And it's exhausting, because this false self requires constant maintenance, constant performance, constant defense. It's why you lie awake at 3 a.m, replaying conversations, rehearsing arguments you'll never have. It's why criticism feels like death, why rejection sends you spiraling, why you can never just rest. The false self is terrified because it knows deep down that it's not real, that it's just a character you created. And if people see through the mask, if the performance fails, if you're exposed as not good enough, then what? Merton wrote, every moment of anxiety, every feeling of not enough, these are signs you're living from the false self. So if that's the false self, the mask you've been wearing your whole life, what is the true self? Your true self is who you are before all the labels, before the achievements, before the roles, the part of you that simply exists. Think of it this way. Your true self is like the child you once were, before you learned to perform, before you built the mask. Not naive or immature, but authentic, real, undefended, free. Merton used a beautiful metaphor. The false self is like waves on the ocean's surface, constantly crashing and churning with every wind. The true self is like the depths beneath, still, vast, unchanging no matter what storms rage above. Your true self doesn't need to prove anything because it knows its worth isn't earned. It's given. It's inherent. It doesn't compare itself to others because it understands that comparison is meaningless when you're already complete. It doesn't defend itself because it has nothing to defend. It simply is, and that's enough. Merton believed your true self is the part of you that exists in God's unconditional love, the you that God sees beyond all performance. But even if you don't share his faith, the principle remains. There's a part of you beneath all the conditioning, a witness, a presence. Here's the difference in everyday life. Your false self says, I have to, I should, what will they think? Your true self whispers, I am enough, all is well, I can rest. Your false self is terrified of silence, because in silence there's nothing to do, no one to impress, nowhere to hide. Your true self comes alive in silence, because that's where it remembers who it really is. Your false self measures worth by accomplishments, likes, status, and what you've achieved today. Your true self knows worth is inherent, not earned. You don't have to do anything to deserve existence. Your false self is exhausted by meditation because it can't perform there. Your true self finds rest in stillness because that's its natural state, its home. So how do you find this true self? How do you remove the mask you've worn for so long? It feels like your actual face. Step 1. Notice the mask. Start paying attention to when you're performing, when you feel like you're on. When are you crafting your words for effect? When are you checking to see if people approve of you? Step 2. Practice being alone without distraction. No phone, no music, no podcast, just 10 minutes of pure silence. Your false self will panic and say, this is a waste of time. I should be productive. Let it panic. Watch it. Don't believe it. Step 3. Release one identity at a time. You're not your job, not your relationship status, not your achievements or mistakes. Try this. Look in the mirror and ask, if I lost everything, my job, my reputation, my accomplishments, who would I be? The answer to that question is closer to your true self than anything else you've believed about yourself. Step 4. Practice surrender. The false self wants control. The true self trusts and lets go of the need to manufacture identity. Here's what Merton discovered. When you stop defending the false self, when you finally rest in who you really are, you don't fall apart, you become free. Tonight, ask yourself, which self am I living from? The anxious performer or the peaceful presence beneath? The journey from false self to true self is the journey home.